general DHHS parent account. So the question is, are those options that the department has under consideration and are they going to yield any benefits?
We are evaluating every possible resource to help address the challenges in the main care accounts. So we are looking at unexpended balances, again, based on what we are forecasting at this point for the remainder of the year with other non-main care accounts. So we are certainly taking that into consideration. That was part of what we brought forward with the change package request. We are looking at other revenues, just making sure that everything is being done in terms of the drug rebates, that we are able to bring those in and have those be attributable to this state fiscal year. So we are exercising all of those options to try to address and mitigate our financial challenges this year. The reference in the fiscal news to a delay was, if the funding was inadequate, then we would likely have to delay certain payments as the funds began to run out. And that was, of course, what we were trying to avoid, both in terms of the request and the change package, and then all of the other avenues that we are pursuing to identify monies that can be transferred into the main care accounts.
Representative Carey and then Senator Flood.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I first want to say I agree completely with Senator Flood's points about the work that we do on this committee, and I will say that the last week in particular, as we've been building up, this is some of the proudest moments I've had serving the legislature with serving with the 12 other people on this committee. My concerns are about the cash flow management of the department and the communication. When did you know that May 28th was going to be the date?
I think I've answered the question. That May 28th was it? Yes, we have. May 28th is a date that we understood from the budget office that it could take a week to 2 weeks to process. I've also said that that's the mechanics at this point. That needs to be discussed further with the commissioner and with other staff about at what point was the latest possible point for the legislature to enact funding for this state fiscal year 13 that we can then make payments appropriately beginning June 12th when we start to run out.
Yes. I'm sorry, Commissioner, you haven't made that clear. When did you know that May 28th would be that date that you're talking about of the site of this, the process from the budget office being 12 days or so? When did you know that May 28th was the date that we were looking at?
This has been within the last week or so. Certainly as we were putting together the change package and working with the budget office on our request, we are daily and weekly evaluating our accounts, our forecast, determining whether or not there are any additional revenues coming in. We most recently, this past week, were looking at the June 12th cycle to understand how much do we now forecast we will be short, and then backing in, what does that then mean, either in terms of, as I've said, our own internal decision-making about what changes we would have to make to payments, or when a budget would need to be adopted in order to fund these accounts.
So when the change package came out on the 8th, you knew that May 28th was likely to be the date?
This is not difficult timing in terms of there's just not a lot of time between now and the end of the fiscal year.
No, I understand, and as we are here, all years, at this point, 6 days a week, working up to 14 hours a day, we understand and are focused perfectly on passing a budget that our constituents will be proud of. My question, again, is about kind of when you know and how this is communicated. What I'm interested in as we move forward here, you've talked about a number of different, as you call them, mechanics in the department, the unexpended balances of non-main care accounts, other revenues, I'm sure there's others. When can we get a report back of the granularity of what that's going to mean, and whether or not the $1.6 million still holds true as we're approaching? Is that something we can expect Tuesday or Wednesday of this week?
Well, the change package is that final analysis as we've been looking at our funds. We've been working nonstop looking at what are the options available to us. That is what led up to the change package. That is the funding that is needed in order to offset those losses at the remainder of the year.
Commissioner, I understand completely. The change package is how the legislature appropriates the funds that you have to manage. You're talking about, when you're talking about unexpended balances and non-main care accounts, you're referring, I believe, to our view. When you're talking about other revenue, drug rebates, you're talking about other ways in which the department gets money into OSR accounts that then offsets federal requirements for main care. When you're talking about changes to payments, you're talking about what may happen on the outflows. This is all cash flow management. Cash flow management backs you into the May 28th date. I'm asking for an update on the cash flow management that is ongoing, as you've made clear you are, so that we understand whether or not this letter that is not a typical communication from the department to this committee, whether that holds true, or whether these other options have found the $1.6 million in May 28th becomes June 4th.
Every week, you get a very detailed analysis of the weekly cycle payments.
From the legislative staff.
No, well, we send it to the legislative staff. So that's our document. Every week, we send over. That is a detailed analysis of the cycle payments. So I guess I'm happy to expand upon that, but we do provide significant information every week so that
Absolutely.
you have the depth of understanding of what we are looking at for our cash management related to the expenditures in main care.
So we can get another briefing of how you are approaching this challenge that you have, that we all agree that you have, on Tuesday or Wednesday, of some of the details of these unexpended balances and other revenue opportunities that you may have that will push the May 28th date to June 4th?
No, the analysis that we have done to date about what is available to us is what contributes still, though, to running out of money June 12th for that cycle.
So these mechanics that you're talking about, the unexpended balances and other revenue, I'm confused, because you're saying we went on a date period on June 10th or somewhere in there, but you're saying that the department is looking at other options that could affect that.
What I said was that we've been looking and managing this. This is what we do every week, every day. We have meetings reviewing the status of all these accounts. And that it is that exercise that led to the request for the $35 million, based upon all of the other efforts that we have underway to manage, to forecast other accounts and expenditures, based upon constant review of what we're seeing in the other accounts.
I guess
And I'm
shocked.
happy to share with you what those other accounts and challenges look like in terms of
And
what
that's-
we've identified.
And that's what I'm asking for, more specifics. And is Tuesday a reasonable date to get more specifics about this $1.6 million?
In terms of again, you have a lot of that, but we'll bring you, we'll take a look compared to what we provided.
It's a $1 billion department, and one initiative in a change package that provides that says increased costs due to cycle payments is not sufficient communication to say, here's how it was developed, and we know that this continues to be true 2 weeks after the change package was delivered.
But Representative Carey, that would suggest that we have not provided this committee with reams of data and information, which we have. And we have provided you with substantial background information regarding the spending, the budget, and our forecast.
Thank you
I'm
for that.
happy to provide more details about the non-main care accounts that we are using as a part of the language and the authority that we were granted. But you also have seen some of that information in your financial orders. We will provide you with more detail behind that.
Thank you. Is Tuesday a reasonable date for that?
We're happy to provide that to you on Tuesday.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Senator Flood.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. I had just a couple other things to say. I'm going to repeat myself from before, and I won't apologize for that. I think a couple of the commissioners in this room have the hardest jobs in state government, and I think they're trying their best to provide the service that is required of them. And as I look at this day and this meeting, the challenges of this discussion, it seems like the factors are factors that are, again, fixable by our committee, I think. I think that maybe a communication or two caught us off guard. Again, I'll say that that's not the first time that's happened to this committee, and again, that people are trying to be offering as much disclosure as possible. And I don't think I have to mention to the committee, but I'm mentioning it for other people who might listen to us, is that our job is to stay focused, collaborative, calm, work something out, because other people, other factors that surround us will be trying to divide us, to torment us, could make us get all political and crazy. And I don't think we lend ourselves to doing that here. We seem to be able to work very well to just deal with the facts and the issues at hand and get them accomplished. So I think that bears repeating. I'm very proud of the committee today for the questions they've asked, straightforward, direct questions, and commissioners answer them in a straightforward, direct way. I think that's all good. I think there is some potential freeboard in the dates that have been assigned, and I guess if I was in the commissioner's shoes, I certainly give the earliest date possible to protect the interests of the department and the providers and so forth. I understand that. And again, I don't think that's different than requests that we received in the past. The fact that it's in a letter form, I think, is a little different. But again, I hope we can get past that. What has to happen here, I think, is that we need to get authorization to develop a supplemental budget in one form or another. Then it has to pass the committee. It has to go to revisers to be fixed. It has to be go to the floor of the Senate and the House and receive passage and get a signature. All that takes a little time, and there's always a lot of flop in that scheduling that is flexible. And I think that if we talk to Commissioner Millett about that, if we talk to the budget director about that, we could probably get a clearer signal about the time frames. My guess is that they're a little looser than the letter might indicate, but I think it's probably good that we've had a discussion today to make sure that we're moving as fast as we might need to. So I hope that when we're done questioning Commissioner Mayhew, we can have a chance to talk to Commissioner Millett about the date sequencing that may be possible that perhaps puts us a little more at ease. I just want to say that, and thank you again, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Flood. Representative Keshel?
Yes, and again, I think the Senator Flood for his comments. I have to express that I don't feel that I'm being caught off the guard as much as other people may feel. But I do want to say that this is an interesting opportunity to just make the following statement or comment. That is, over the last couple of weeks, your staff has been over here explaining how you're trying to project future fundings to avoid this very kind of issue, this crisis kind of situation that we've faced for lots of reasons over the past years. And I want to express my appreciation to your staff for the hard work that they're doing on the modeling and all of that tells us what we will need for funding. Not to say that you'll never have a need for a supplemental budget, but certainly to avoid that to the extent possible. I think your staff has worked hard. I've talked to them post those kind of online conversations we've had. I think we're doing an excellent job, and hopefully we will start listening to the staff and accepting their projections to the extent that we can without trying to pull them back and then potentially getting into a funding problem for the next year, because we're always looking for money on this committee to help solve problems, and I understand that. And we want to get as precise as we can, but sometimes in order to get out of these kind of fiscal issues, these crisis issues, we need to make sure that we're doing full funding to the extent possible, to the extent our knowledge will allow us. I just want to make that comment. Thank you.
Representative Keshel, thank you. And I am equally impressed and appreciative of the work of many staff in the department. They have spent countless hours. It is complicated. It does require a great deal of analysis and predictive analysis. And they have worked collaboratively within the department, with the Department of Administration and Financial Services, poring over their analysis to really ensure, at the end of the day, that we're able to meet the needs and cover the costs of this program. And they have been the ones who have taken the phone calls from providers when their payments have not been laid or a claim has not been paid, and the challenges that they face meeting payroll. And we are trying our best to avoid that so that we can ensure that appropriate payments are made for the remainder of the fiscal year. But thank you for your comments.
Thank you. I would encourage committee members who haven't looked at the letters to do so. And again, my concern is that as the chair of this committee, no one notified us of the May 28th date. And that's 2 weeks away. And in order for us on this committee to do our job, and as Senator Flood has pointed out, there are ways to deal with this. We have to be informed. And we need to be told that the funding will run out in 2 weeks if that in fact is the situation. And it's not acceptable to find out at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon in a letter that didn't even come to us here on appropriations. So communications is a significant issue, and I hope going forward that not only will you be informing people as you have been in terms of your concerns about how much money is there for Medicaid, but that if we're facing a crisis, as we have indicated that money is going to run out in 2 weeks, that this committee be informed so that we can take appropriate action, and we don't find out, through a letter that didn't even come to us that we're facing this situation.
I believe you were informed, have been informed, so we disagree about whether or not there's been effective communication with this committee.
And again, I don't remember seeing May 28th in any documents that have come here, nor was it part of the presentation.
I appreciate that you and I disagree about that.
Other questions or comments for Commissioner Mayhew? I have to share with you that I feel very protective of this committee, as you do for your department. We are under tremendous pressure as well. And I place no blame for it. But last week, just to give you an idea of how I think maybe some of the other committee members may be working under such pressure, I went home finally after 2 weeks of not being home. And I went over to my mail, and there was a card there. It was a happy anniversary from my mother-in-law to my husband and myself. And I read it, and I thought, good Lord, when was my anniversary? I've just been so caught up with appropriations that I think we sleep what we're doing here, and I suspect that's the case for a number of other members. So I'm just asking in terms of going forward, and you may not be the appropriate party to ask, but whether it's Commissioner Millett or yourself, anyone who feels a crisis is coming and we're not moving at a fast enough pace, please do not hesitate to call me at any time, because all reminders are very welcome. And I just think everyone here is really trying to do a good job and under huge pressure from so many different avenues. Thank you. Ring my cage. Anyone else? Commissioner Millett, are you joining us? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, I assure you, but I see you're here, and I wondered if you wanted to comment. And thank you, Commissioner Mayhew. We really appreciate you being here and addressing all the questions.